I'm recording this video as a warning because I'm watching a lot of founders start to make some decisions that I think are going to be catastrophic, or founders have been making decisions that have become catastrophic, especially in this time right now when we are in this sort of this bursting of the everything bubble when it comes to startups. Recession or no recession, I don't care how you define it. For us startup founders, we are in a recession. As soon as tech companies, their stocks start to go down, they start laying off people, venture capital starts drying up, that is our recession for startup founders. So it doesn't matter what else you want to measure. We're in it right now. And I want to speak to everybody who's going to listen to this about how to make decisions to avoid catastrophic failure. And it doesn't matter what it is. You could be about to, program a new feature. I was talking about this with a founder this morning, investing some money, launching a campaign, hiring somebody, going out and raising money, or taking certain type of investment money, pivoting, strategic decision-making, making plans, or just conversations with co-founders, etc. Doesn't matter what it is. I want you to stop and consider this technique, the W.A.I.T technique, W.A.I.T, W-A-I-T, before you do anything, because it's just a good way to check yourself and to check the whole situation around you before we start moving into these decisions that have enduring effects. Now, you can be making decisions that have positive effects, which is good, but nothing stops you from just pausing a little bit. Nobody's in a hurry. Nothing has to happen overnight. And even if you've got, runway issues or what have you, try this technique. Please try this technique. Let me give you an example for myself. I was in a situation where I'm ready to, invest. And I had looked at it, I said, I need some inventory for this video game startup that I was doing, and I need testing inventory for development and R&D and things like that. And then I was looking at it and go, oh, I should, order more and get my unit economics down and start selling some things to generate some cash flow. It makes sense, right? So then I'm ready to drop about, it was $21,000 in inventory, because I justified it saying, oh, I don't need all of it now, but if I can take this and sell it, etc., I can make substantially more money. I could probably double my money and then extend my runway, etc. Well, then using this technique, what ended up happening was I was completely off. I had a conversation as I was out there working with the distribution part, working with users, traction, getting feedback. And I got feedback from one of my experts saying, Ed, that's not going to work, because if you don't have this product bundled together, you're going to alienate your customers, etc. You need to be doing this. And I was like, wait a second. So I went back and I studied the unit economics, or what it would take. I did some research and I was like, man, I'm so off of my assumptions. Thank goodness. I would have had to blown about $100,000 to make my plan work, or else I would have ended up with $21,000 of inventory that just sat there, and that would have been a huge loss. In fact, out of that, I began looking at other things and I pivoted my strategy, and it saves me a whole bunch of money, gets me to traction a lot faster, etc. I'll walk you through how I did it. Let's take a look at this whole W.A.I.T technique. So the foundation of this, let me take you to the world of positive psychology. If you haven't read this book yet, it's one of the more impactful books in my life in terms of my brain development, personal development, coaching, performance, execution, all that stuff. It's The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor. He's got this great TED Talk out there. I totally recommend you checking it out. In the book, he talks about a principle called the Zorro Circle, which is a metaphor that comes from the movie Zorro, starring Antonio Banderas and Anthony Hopkins. And in this movie, this scene in particular, Antonio Banderas is the young Zorro, and Sir Anthony Hopkins, excuse me, is the older Zorro, and he's going to teach him how to fight. So they're going to learn how to fight. And the younger Zorro, Antonio Banderas, he's flashing and he's all styled and he's jumping around and he's swinging around, all these things, ha ha ha, and getting ready. And Anthony Hopkins, the older Zorro, just flicks his wrist and disarms the younger Zorro and explains to him that if you can control the circle, this small circle, and let me highlight, you can see it with the little rope down here. So here you see this rope that he's got here. It's a little circle. And he said, if you can control this circle and learn to fight in this tight circle, you can beat anybody. Sean Achor in The Happiness Advantage basically explains it as the locus of control and staying focused in your locus of control. And if you can boil things down to a small circle of what you can control and what you can execute, the brain actually functions better. The short-term learning centers of your brain light up, executive functions start to fire on all cylinders, and your performance increases. And therefore, I use the Zorro Circle when I'm doing executive coaching all the time. When someone's overwhelmed with all the things they want to do, the big battle, the big fight, I say, how can we boil this down into one thing inside this circle and do that next? Let's just get to the next milestone. I acknowledge and recognize you've got a million things on your mind, the sky is falling, etc. But today, what is the one next thing that you can do? And typically I combine that with the emotion of courage. I say, what is the next thing that you can do in courage? What is one small act of courage you could do that's going to help you get to the next milestone? Forget about X, Y, Z. What's A to B in the tight Zorro Circle? And that's how we explain the Zorro Circle. And this is how I'm going to explain to you how to start to work through this technique to help you. So let's demonstrate here. So again, it doesn't matter what decisions you have to make. Just start saying, okay, I'm going to make some decisions. And I strongly recommend write it down. Okay, write everything down, because there's just something about writing things down on a piece of paper and seeing it. You activate different parts of your brain and makes you present and intentional in the moment versus staying stuck in your head. Write things down. Journaling, great exercise. Here's what happens. So here's your circle of everything. Okay? So these are all, everything. Everything. There's that movie. I heard it's really good. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I heard that's a really good movie. I digress. So here is the everything all around. And what happens is these are all the things that you could be doing, right? And so you write down all the stuff. I should be doing this, and here's the decisions I want to make, etc. And you get it all down. And it just helps to get organized. And then what happens is the WAIT technique starts to get in play. And so here is first the what. Now you're going to start to see this relate to Simon Sinek's Start With Why. And spoiler alert, we're going to get there. So first is the WAIT technique, and it's the acronym WAIT. And so it is, what am I thinking? So what you do is you take the decision and say, okay, in my case, I'm going to go spend $21,000 on getting inventory. What am I thinking? Well, I justify it with, I'm going to have inventory, my unit economics are down, and I'm going to sell it, and it's going to make, lots of money. It's going to extend my runway. Pretty much is, what happened. Then you get into the why. And what happens is the next WAIT is, why am I trying? That may sound close to, what am I thinking? Let me attach this to a conversation technique. In conversational training, I explain it as, why am I talking? And I may be ready to say something to my wife, And what I'll do is I'll ask permission, then I'll wait. So I'll say to my wife, can I just share something that's on my mind? And I'll stop and I go, what am I thinking? Organize my thoughts. And it happens in seconds if you train your brain. And then why am I talking? Why am I really saying this? Why am I talking right now? And sometimes I'll end up going, never mind. Answer my own question. That was dumb. Right? I'll catch myself before I pop off. I may be emotionally dysregulated, or I may be triggered and in this emotional state. Instead of just blurting right into it, I'll say something like I do this with my kids. I'll say, I'm feeling angry right now. Can I share what I'm feeling angry about right now? I just want to process it. And in that moment, when they have to give me permission, I'll go, what am I thinking? Why am I talking? And so I do this all the time. Like I'll write a Facebook post or I'll write a letter to somebody or a message, and I'll stop before and I will wait. What am I thinking? Why am I talking? In decision-making land, it's why am I trying? So what am I thinking? $21,000, etc. These are all the facts that I've been doing. Why am I trying this? Well, if I really came up with different answers, it was like I want to be convenient, worried about runway, I've got the money, I just want to accelerate growth, etc. And you know what? None of those answers really lined up. So you know what I did is I went and I waited some more and I talked to someone on my team and I said, okay, I'm going to tell you what I am thinking and why I want to try this, why I'm trying it. And that's where it was revealed, Ed, you're missing a whole side of the picture. I'm like, thank God, $21,000 could have been out the door. Again, this comes down to any feature you're going to program, any decision, strategy, conversation with the co-founders, etc. Let's take this to the whole thing of fundraising. Okay, so I need to go raise $10 million. What are you thinking? Like, what are you thinking in terms of raising $10 million? Right? Let's boil it down. Let's say you're at the idea stage and you're like, I'm going to put my pitch deck together and I need to go raise, $1 million. What are you thinking? Well, I'm going to be able to hire this and do this and I can get my thing, and then you say, well, why are you trying that? Why are you trying that? And you're boiling it down to the core reasons, and you can bounce that off people. And it's like, well, I want to raise money. Why am I raising money? Because, I'm run out of runway. I'm insecure, different things. And you start to really boil down. And then what happens is you get down to your Zorro Circle and you figure out, you ask yourself the question, what's the one next thing? What is the one next thing that I need to do with what am I thinking and why am I trying? What is the one next thing? Right? You boil it down and then you check it that it makes sense logically with what you're thinking and why are you trying? Right? And if you can boil it down to the one next thing and forget about all the other stuff. So maybe if you're raising $2 million, you're going, okay, it's legitimate. Well, what's the one next thing? Well, I'm going to validate my idea, or I'm going to spend half a day researching all the other startups in my competitive space. Because guess what? Even before starting your startup, here's my startup idea. What am I thinking? Why am I trying? And you'll get to what you're thinking, all the logic that is in your mind, which might be laden with a ton of confirmation bias, by the way. You got tunnel vision, you're in your own world. And why am I trying? And go to your motivations on the reason. Start with the why and boil it down. And what's the one next thing? And you may find out, well, the one next thing I need to do is go do some research on whether my idea really is original. And you might end up finding out, wait a second, everybody else is doing it. And you boil it down to your plan and you go into the locus of control, the Zorro Circle, where your brain is in an optimal state to start to see the things you might not have seen because you're in the everything bubble. I can do everything all the time, everywhere, all at once. Here's the thing. And I watch founders do this when they're talking to me. I literally watch their brains and their language take the train and just bullet along all the way into the sunset, and they are so far down the path that they've lost the Zorro Circle, and therefore their brains are in a suboptimal condition to start making those decisions. So let me summarize. You've got everything everywhere all at once going on, right? Now, you write down all the things that you could be doing, all the decisions that you want to be making. And then for each one, you ask yourself, you wait. So don't do anything rash. You don't have to make decisions overnight. You stop and you go, okay, what am I thinking about this one decision? And then why am I trying? And be honest with yourself. And if the logic doesn't line up, then you go back to the drawing board. Okay, what else could I be trying? And try something else. But if you think the logic does line up, then you ask yourself, what's the one next thing that I can do in my Zorro Circle? And does that align with what I'm thinking and why I'm trying? And sometimes you need a little bit of help. You need a little bit of coaching to practice this. But if you just wait, even waiting and giving yourself some time for all the things to settle, kind of that dopamine rush of creativity start to settle down, and you are out of the emotional part of your brain, the limbic system of your brain, that reptilian brain where you just want to, be doing stuff, and then get to the mammalian part of the brain where you start expanding, but it's all emotion driven. Guess what? Even that, you might just start to look at it like a data scientist and say, okay, guess what? This doesn't quite line up the way that I thought it would. So don't be afraid to use a technique, write everything down. What am I thinking? Why am I trying? What's the one next thing? Stay in that Zorro Circle. If you need office hours, you need to talk this through. We are all available for you to do this together. Stay on it, stay with it, and we'll build these startups with you together. Okay? Hope this was helpful. Look forward to talking to you in the next video.